Welcome back, everyone. We made it. It is the end of the week or the start to the week, however you like to look at Sunday. We're going to be going over one of our Cabral house calls each and every weekend, Saturdays and Sundays. Love to take your questions. We answer 6 each day in the order that they come in. Hopefully you tuned into yesterday's. That was episode 2136. If you didn't, you can always head back to stephencabral.com/podcasts for all of the previous shows. And again, if you want to follow along with the questions today, head on over to stephencabral.com/2137. All right, let's get started with today's question. So again, no medical advice, no cures, no diagnosis, only the good stuff, which is meaning getting to the underlying root cause of your questions, of your diseases, and actually finding out why these things occur in the first place so that we can go about rebalancing the body. Let's do it. All right, first question today is from Francisco. Francisco says, hello, Dr. Paul. I hope you had a lovely day so far. You as well, Francisco. I appreciate that. My question is related to multivitamins. I've heard so much controversy on this specific topic, and there are so many individuals that state that multivitamins made from whole foods are the only multivitamins that really work. That is why they're more expensive, because they're the only ones that the body truly absorbs. This means that I've been taking a synthetic form of multivitamins for years. For example, ascorbic acid for vitamin C, methylcobalamin for vitamin B12. Apparently, these are all synthetic, so not absorbed, and I should look for a whole food vitamin instead. What are your thoughts? Well, my thoughts are, anyone who's telling you that a whole food multivitamin is the only way to go is most likely trying to sell you a whole food multivitamin. If anybody's trying to tell you that only whole food vitamin C works for you, it's most likely because they have to seem right to boost their ego, or they need to sell you a whole food vitamin C, because there could be nothing further from the truth, right? Let's be fair. Let's be honest. You can, again, go to PubMed and look at methylcobalamin, which is used things like Alzheimer's, autism, methylation disorders, all sorts of things. And methylcobalamin as vitamin B12 works better than a food-based B12. Why? Because you need a higher dosage for those people that aren't methylating properly. Methylfolate works way better than regular folate for people with especially a homozygous MTHFR gene mutation. Ascorbic acid works perfectly well as vitamin C. Let me share with you why. Because you're not taking your multivitamin in a vacuum, right? You're not taking your multivitamin as the only thing that you eat for your entire consumption of micronutrients. So when you're eating fruits and vegetables, protein, carbs, fats, you're getting in all of the food-based forms, right? And then you're taking in your multivitamin, and it works with all of those food-based forms as well. And when you go to PubMed and you type in ascorbic acid, you see volumes of data. Linus Pauling and the Linus Pauling Foundation did their work on things like niacin, or if you look at like Dr. Andrew Saul that I've spoken about before with a book called Doctor Yourself, all just lab-made regular vitamins that work way better than food. Now, I'm not saying you can't use a food-based multivitamin, but I will tell you that if you're looking to bring up levels, it's probably not going to do it. Now, I'll also tell you this dirty little secret of food-based vitamins is typically they're not coming from a whole lot of food. They're being extracted from fungus. That's the truth. Now, I'm actually not against that. If you want to do whole food only, I have no problem with that. I recommend whole food vitamins in many different circumstances, but I'll also tell you that a lot of people don't do well with them because they have histamine issues. They've got all sorts of issues with where these vitamins are coming from. They have mold issues. They don't do well with things like Saccharomyces cerevisiae, right? Or certain types of mushrooms or fungus-based extracts. So again, anybody telling you that is like, they're just in the outside of the onion. There's no controversy. They both work. Our daily fruit and vegetable blend, whole food multivitamin, if you want to look at it that way. Our full spectrum vitamin C. Oh, it comes from amla berries, comes from hesperidin, comes from hibiscus. Great. But you can also take ascorbic acid as well and then eat like mango and other vitamin C things if you'd like. So again, I'll do a whole podcast on this. It comes up all the time. I've answered this question at least 50 times. I'm not against answering it for you, Francisco. Obviously, I did answer it. But I'll do one podcast and I'll just point people to it, because the truth is that people are always trying to sell you something. They really are. I point you in the direction for many things. There's no doubt about it. But I always say the choice is yours, and I'm always unbiased. You can do either. but just don't let people like lie to you about, synthetic and, I mean, when you say synthetic, it's actually an extract or it's taken from something else and it's the biological form that's used in the body. Now, again, there are a lot of cheap synthetic vitamins out there that you would buy at Costco and BJ's and Target. And I always say, if you're buying your supplements where you buy your toilet paper and toothpaste, it's a problem. Okay. All right. Good question. Victor's up next. I was listening to a house call and you mentioned how you don't recommend straight curcumin on a daily basis. I've been taking 500 milligrams of curcumin with BioPerine as part of my daily foundation protocol on top of DNS, omega-3, vitamin D, magnesium, vitamin C, zinc. I don't have inflammation, but I just take it to optimize my health. What are your thoughts? No, I don't have a problem with people taking curcumin. 500 milligrams is not a big dosage. It's really not. I have no problem with people using curcumin. I have problem with people using curcumin if they might have like lower blood pressure or lower blood sugar, or like it could affect anything in that way. And also, I may have said it as, I don't need people taking curcumin on a daily basis if they don't need to take curcumin on a daily basis. See what I'm saying? Meaning like, I always look at supplements to supplement a healthy diet. And so that's what we do. Again, curcumin is a great high antioxidant, high polyphenol, plant-based product root that's great for you. There's no doubt about it. I mean, we use it in my practice, so I can't say I don't recommend it. I do. But, do you need it every day? That's the question. And maybe you just want to take it. I have no problem with people taking curcumin or ginger or something great like that every day if they choose to. So no, Victor, if you're healthy and you're doing great, keep on keeping on. All right, Lindsay's up next. Hello, Dr. Brawl. I hope you're having an amazing day. Thank you, Lindsay. I am. I hope you are as well. Your podcast archive is always where I turn to when a friend is dealing with any health-related matter. I was surprised recently when I couldn't find a podcast on Guillain-Barré Syndrome. Can you shed any light on this and possible ways to heal the root cause? Thank you so much, or you are appreciated. Oh, thank you. Appreciate you. So it's always fun pronouncing Guillain-Barré, but we probably have as many different pronunciations as people misspelling it. But what it is, it's really an autoimmune issue. All right, it's an autoimmune issue where the nervous system is actually being attacked by the immune system of your body. Now, a lot of people will say that it's mistaken, that the nervous system messed up. Maybe. That is absolutely possible. Molecular mimicry can be part of it, but usually messes up for a particular reason. So people can get infected with a virus, and this can be sometimes the inflammation that goes off in the body can cause this. Sometimes, what's the best way to say this without being censored? It has been shown for some people who have gotten a specific type of shot that this is a recurrence. It's actually what stopped the first SARS, what's the best way to say this, treatment protocol. Again, I just don't want to be censored because people were getting Guillain-Barré, and so they had to stop that. So these are sometimes just side effects, and what can happen is it starts with numbness or tingling sometimes in the extremities, and then it can lead to eventually, not with everyone, of course, paralysis. There's a lot that can be done. I know a lot of people too, where it affects their liver and their body's ability actually to break down a lot of toxins and believe it or not, a lot of high fat in the diet. So that's what I can share with you about it. My goal is always the same. And my goal is to run the big five, figure out if there's heavy metals, figure out if there's gut issues, figure out what the cortisol levels look like. And then I'm going to give a specific protocol that they're going to use after they run their 21-day functional medicine detox. So again, I can't give you specific medical advice, and I'm not doing that, but you'd want to run the big five. Then you want to do the 21-day detox. Then you want to do your specific protocol based on what the big five revealed. All right, so that's exactly what I would do. And that's the same for any hard to treat, I'm using that in air quotes, dis-ease of the body. All right, great question. All right. Next up is Dawn. Dawn says, recently my tongue began burning throughout the day as if it is being continually scalded by boiling water. I've been told that burning mouth syndrome may go away on its own in 3 to 5 years. Are there any thoughts of other options that could give a quicker resolution? Thank you, and thank you for the podcast and all that you do. Happy to help. It should not take 3 to 5 years. Burning tongue can be from pesticide exposure. It can be from heavy metal toxicity. It can be from too much of one specific mineral. Like sometimes people get too much zinc or too much copper, and that can certainly lead to it. Sometimes too high a level of B vitamins could cause a tingling, which feels like a burning. So this is a side effect typically of some type of variable. The way that we figure this out is typically say, what changed over the last couple of weeks? Where was the new introduction? Was it a new medication? Was it a new supplement? Was it a new food? Was it an exposure to something, right? Like toxicity. These are all things that we look at, and then we begin to work backwards. So that's what I recommend, really looking at what the exposure was, because I can't tell you specifically what it was, but we might look at things like anaerobic bacteria buildup in the mouth. We might do tongue scraping with a natural baking soda-based toothpaste. We might do a functional medicine detox. We might do saunas for heavy metal. We might do a heavy metal detox. So these are all things that we may do. And then we'll also just want to make sure that you're not too low in B vitamins, because in Ayurveda, when you're a little low in B vitamins, you can sometimes get that neurological or tingling or burning as well. So hopefully that's at least a place to get started. I wish I could give you more details, but you may even want to run the starter kit if you only run one combo lab to look at your vitamin and mineral levels. All right. Alina is up next. I'm going to join all the others in thanking you for the work that you do for the health community and for my own education. I've been struggling with SIBO for a few years and finally now on the CBO protocol. I recently have learned about food combining and food layering. I've listened to all your podcasts on it, but still have a few specific questions. Are nut butters or protein bars with nut butters easier to digest than nuts in whole form? What protein will food combine well with oatmeal, quinoa, or rice? I see only carbohydrates and proteins pair well with vegetables, and carbohydrates with fats, oils as well. I love oatmeal, but I've heard it's important to have protein at each meal. I'm unsure of how to do this for proper food combining. Thank you. Also, should salads with a protein like fish or eggs not have dressing on it, since protein does not pair well with oils? Thanks. What combines well with hemp hearts? Thanks so much in advance. I would ask your support team, but I don't see an option unless you have Facebook. Okay. So for really detailed diet information, I definitely recommend working with one of our IHPs or one of the EcoLife coaches. But I'm happy to answer these questions. So nut butters are easier to digest than whole food nuts because they've been essentially blended, right? They've been turned down to essentially a liquid. So easier to digest. However, they're definitely more oxidized. So if I had to choose between the two for overall health, well, I would just choose raw sprouted nuts. But having said that, you could also drop a couple in a blender or whatever, make your own nut butter, or just have nut butter. It is easier to digest. I will tell you this. Nut butters are one of the hardest things to digest. Nuts in general are hardest things to digest because of the fat, protein, and there's a lot more that goes into that I won't chat about now. However, they're still healthy. If you can digest them, then they're healthy, right? They don't combine well with a whole lot of things, but typically you just have them on their own. It's part of a bar. And again, you just check out my podcast on smoothies and food combining, and you'll see why it blends everything up to a neutral, and most people have no issues digestion with a smoothie. I know you mentioned oatmeal. Oatmeal is pretty easy to combine with. You can put in a scoop of protein powder, which is micronized, like the daily nutritional support. Some people add it to that. You can definitely add berries to your oatmeal. That combines well. In Ayurveda, they're oftentimes doing some spices like cinnamon, and then they're adding some sliced banana or apple. That seems to do pretty well. Raw apple doesn't do well. Why? It's harder to break down, but if you had cooked apple and you added that, that could be fine. Let's talk about your rice. Okay, what combines well with rice? Well, just like you said, your veggies, you can definitely do olive oil with your rice. That's not going to be an issue. Protein going to be a little bit more challenging. But that's when you have to go now to food layering. So, and again, food combining really only matters to a high degree for those people dealing with a lot of bloating and a lot of gas and really weak digestion, right? Definitely at that point, add 2 to 3 daily digestive enzymes at the start to each meal. That'll be very helpful. Here's what you can do. You can have your rice at the beginning of the meal. Then you can have your veggies and protein after the rice, so that you layer it in your stomach so that the foods break down a little bit faster in terms of what's supposed to move through the stomach to a greater degree, so there's less fermentation. And I know that you know that either because you're an IHP or you learned about that on the food combining podcast. Let's see if I missed any. Protein, fish and eggs with a dressing. No. So keep in mind that fish is loaded with oil, right? Loaded with oil, polyunsaturated fats, omega-3s, and that form is very healthy for you, right? Well, let's look at really chicken or red meat or eggs. They're loaded with oil. They're fat, right? They're loaded with fat. So adding a little bit of olive oil has never been an issue for really any of my clients with this as well. So hopefully that's helpful. Good questions. Mary's up next. I never used to have scalp issues, and about 3 years ago, I began to get really bad folliculitis. I've tried antibiotics, I've cut out sugar, gluten, dairy, and meat, and still have terrible bouts of folliculitis that result in huge pus-filled welts that are painful and itchy. Not sure what is causing it or why. Okay, so I used to have folliculitis in my early 20s. It was miserable. It was painful. I would get it on my sides of my stomach, my chest, sometimes on my legs. It was awful. Okay, so what did I do? One, I was using antibacterial soap back then. Don't use antibacterial soap. Don't use harsh shampoos. So you need to switch shampoos to something much more natural. Okay, definitely work on your gut for sure. If there's an issue with overall systemic inflammation, I would run the Big Five 100%. If you can do that, great. You want to look at your omega-3s, your omega-6s. I would also, on your scalp, use either sesame oil or coconut oil overnight. Most people choose sesame oil, all right? They choose sesame oil because it's much thinner than coconut oil, which is a saturated fat versus a polyunsaturated fat, right? So what you can do is you can massage that into your scalp so that you can kill off a lot of the bacteria that shouldn't be there, but not necessarily the beneficial bacteria. Because it sounds like, at least externally, there is an imbalance of good, natural bacteria that should be there versus not. Make sure you're not shampooing your hair literally every single day. Well, if you have to, you have to, but not more than that. Use a natural shampoo that's not stripping of the good bacteria on the scalp. Replace it with just a little bit of, you can do jojoba oil, you can do castor oil, which is great for hair growth, or you can use sesame oil. I like sesame oil, definitely more of an Ayurvedic thing. If the smell is a little off-putting to you, you could certainly try one of the others. All right. Thanks, Mary, for writing in. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. I appreciate all of your support. I'll be back tomorrow with our Mindset and Motivation Monday. Take care. Have an amazing rest of the weekend, and I'll talk with you tomorrow.